Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Inside Movies Galore. I'm your host, David Struggy, and today I have one last final review, at least before I turn in for the night. And I thought I'd go back and review Jumanji from 1995, which was directed by Joe Johnson in association with TriStar Pictures, Interscope Communications, and Titler Film Productions. And I think that this original Jumanji was an animal all of its own nature. I mean, we have Robin Williams, who plays the adult version of Alan Parrish, but we'll get into that in a little bit. I think this was actually one of his more serious roles. But in the very beginning of the film, apparently this game board is called Jumanji is uncovered in a construction site by a young boy by the name of Alan Parrish, who was played by Adam Bird at the time. And his father runs a shoe company called Parrish Shoes, and his father really wants him to follow in his footsteps. But we see that there is a young girl who is played by Laura Bell Bundy, by the name of Sarah, and she's kind of a love interest, but she kind of goes out with the bully that bullies him, and she kind of feels sorry for him. Well, when they were younger, when he found this game, he had to play it with her, and he ended up disappearing into the board, and then like 20 or so years later, there are two young kids who one of the Judy and Peter Shepard, who move into young Alan Parrish's old house, and they uncover the board game in the attic, and they start to play the game themselves. And when they when Peter rolled an 8, that's when Alan Parrish, played by Robin Williams, appeared in a jungle-ish looking like uniform with a huge leaf over his head, or and he basically wrestled with a fake-looking lion, and they ultimately had to find the grown-up Sarah Whittle, who was played by Bonnie Hunt. And we also have Jonathan Hyde, who plays the father of the young Alan, and he also plays the character of Van Pelt, who ends up chasing Alan Parrish from the jungles, at least on a roll. And this ends up being a whole cheesy creature effects, and you can definitely see that the director Joe Johnson, he actually directed the original Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in 1989. He directed the failed Rocketeer, which I actually have a kind of a personal love for. I don't know why people hated it at the time. And of course, he was the director of The Page Master, which was another favorite of mine. So ultimately, we have some of these CGI'd monkeys, CGI'd alligators, CGI'd, well, not CGI'd, there were actually some mechanical spiders that ended up happening from the board. And of course, there was a CGI'd rampage of rhinoceroses and elephants that went on during the thing. And I love the little poems that were said each time the dice was rolled. For some reason, I enjoyed the whole cheesy ordeal. I mean, looking back now, it was definitely badly CGI'd, and the effects could have been better. But I believe that the film portrayed exactly what it needed to. And I know that some of these creatures were not the best put together, but you have to have a kind of an imagination, and there was just so much chaos that went on in the film that you had to kind of laugh at the film. I mean, I actually thought that this was a fairly serious role for Robin Williams. I mean, he comes back, and his father is his father is dead. He finds out that his best friend, which was his father's first-hand man, is a police officer, which we actually have the comedy talents of we have the comedy talents of David Allen Greer here as Carl Bentley, and I even like the whole their aunt, who ultimately paired up with David Allen Greer in the end. How she just seemed to just slowly freak out, and you can't help but remember the when they were on this board and this water was going through, and all of a sudden David Allen Greer's character Carl, he saw this gator go back, and he's just screaming his head off. And I think that Jonathan Hyde played the very esteemed father, along with playing the same guy who ended up being like the guy hunting Alan down. So I thought this film was hilarious. I think it holds up to this day, and I will always remember the role for Robin Williams since his passing. And I wanted to state that Robin Williams was one of the best comedy or comedians around, and I will always miss him in any case. Hopefully you liked my description of this film. I definitely enjoyed the film, even with its bad effects. And I hope that generations to come will still remember this film for what it was. In any case, thanks for listening. Like and subscribe to my page if you have not. If you have seen this film, definitely comment below whether you have enjoyed the film or not. And I'll definitely have some more cool reviews for you later down the road. And thanks for listening, and have a great day or evening or morning wherever you are.